He was also technically minded because he designed some of the war machines used during the Crusade.
A strategic decision was made by the Christian leadership to attack Egypt.
If we could control that trade route, we would be rich people.
If the Crusaders conquer Egypt, they can easily take Jerusalem. And if powerful Egypt falls, the Muslim Middle East will likely fall with it. Only one thing stands in their way, a fortress city called Damietta, at the mouth of the Nile.
The Crusaders could not sail through the Nile unless they took the town. So if you were to control Damietta, you almost control Egypt.
One of the most important sources we have on the crusade comes from the pen of Oliver of Paderborn, who comes on site and leaves us a remarkable chronicle of the events around the siege of Damietta.
The capture of hostile land was achieved without any loss of blood. Upon coming to shore, a few Egyptians approached, but a Frisian struck one dead with an iron spear, and the rest fled in terror.
News of the invasion reaches Cairo. Al-Kamil hurries a force to Damietta. Vastly outnumbered, Al-Kamil's soldiers can only dig in and defend the perimeter.
What's the report?
Sire, more of their reinforcements came today, bringing more siege weapons. Damietta's walls are strong, but they've never been tested against such fearsome weapons before. They launched another assault.
He's in a rather precarious position. We know that he even faced the danger of a coup from within. You can clearly see in his attempts to come to terms with the Crusaders a ruler who is very concerned with the damage that the crusading campaign is having on Egypt. And the reality is he needs to come to some kind of deal, otherwise he's going to face destruction.
The war racks Egypt for 2 years. During this time, Francis is preaching the gospel and growing his movement across Europe. Now he wants to bring his message of peace to the crusade. He travels to Damietta with another friar named Illuminato.
Francis tells us that he clearly heard God asking him to be a peacemaker in this world, a peacemaker in the manner of Jesus Christ. Francis realized that the message he was given to promote peace in the world necessitated him going to the Muslims.
He wants to reach out to these people who were supposed to be the great enemies of Christendom. I just have to say, Francis thought big.
Pelagius is sent by the Pope to lead the new crusade.
His presence in the camp at Damietta was a rather provocative presence. He was an instigator in order to ensure that the Pope's policy of the defeat of Islam happened.
Soon after arriving, Francis faces his first test. Pelagius calls for a new assault on Damietta.
Francis decides that he's going to speak out against this battle. He feels he's called to do this. And he goes out and, according to one of the Franciscan chronicles, begins to denounce the battle and to urge that the soldiers not fight.
The saint leapt to his feet and rushed to the Christians, crying out warnings to save them, forbidding war and threatening disaster. But they took the truth as a joke. They hardened their hearts and refused to turn back.
It was a terrible day for the Christian army. Thousands of people were killed. Very important people were captured. It was a total disaster.
This is what we will do.
Following his victory, Al-Kamil proposes a treaty to end the war.
Terms for a treaty. Treaty?
Not all his generals agree.
It offers the Pope control over the Christian holy places.
And why give them anything? Let's punish them.
And how many more of our men will die if we do? What about the people of Damietta? Starving to death. No. Cannot wait. Let's give the Pope what he wants. Send his army home.
Al-Kamil hurries a messenger to the Crusader camp with his peace offer.
Did that messenger look like the devil? Because this so-called treaty is surely the devil's work.
John of Brienne, the acknowledged leader of the Crusade, is the commander of the army in name only. The real authority is with Pelagius.
But we will be weak no longer.
The Sultan gives us control over our holy places.
Isn't that what we want?
It isn't what we want. It isn't what we want at all! We can finish this once and for all! Here, now!
Yes, we can finish it. But put away the swords and bring the gospel of Christ to them. Only then will there be peace.
Who is this friar who speaks without permission?
I am Brother Francis.
Francis finally reveals his plan. He hopes to end the crusade by preaching the gospel and converting the Muslim army.
So, young friar, you want to preach to them?
Don't you think that they'll kill you on sight? And what difference would it make anyway to preach to a handful of their soldiers?
I intend to preach to the Sultan.
Oh, now you're being ridiculous! If the Sultan is not the devil himself, he is surely the devil's servant. He'll cut your tongue out after just one word and likely nail it to your forehead. No. I'm sorry.
You think his real intention is to martyr himself?
Francis may indeed expect to be killed in this effort, but then that would help Pelagius' cause.
I sent for you to tell you that I've changed my mind. You may go.
Thank you. Your Holiness, thank you. I will not waver. You have my word.
I'm sure that you won't.
Thank you.
Francis and Illuminato cross the corpse-strewn battlefield.
Wait, please! Please! Wait, we're ambassadors! We come in peace! We come in peace! Please!
The startled guards almost kill them. Francis shouts that he's an ambassador of Christ. Maybe this man is bringing news about the Sultan's treaty.
Please.
Who is this?
I am an emissary.
With news from the King of Rome?
For the King of the universe.
Is it to be peace then?
The greatest peace of all, I pray.
Stop the riddles. Is it yes or no?
It's neither. He isn't sent by their leader. Isn't that right?
No, I come for Christ. I come to preach. I come for peace.
It's an insult. If this is their answer, we should kill them.
Come. Sit with me. Bring them some food.
I think that Francis must have been surprised at what he experienced among the Muslim people, because the popular notion was that Muslims were heathens. They were considered the enemy, of course, and more strongly, they were considered beasts.
After this encounter in the tent of the Sultan, Francis and Illuminato were pretty much given free rein to walk and to be and to live in the camp for a few weeks.
These two were indeed seeking peace in the midst of war, so they were open to being transformed by the person who was allegedly their enemy.
One account says that Francis offered to walk through fire to prove the truth of the gospel. The Sultan declined the demonstration, but said that Francis could address his court.
Francis would have heard the call to prayer 5 times a day. I believe in watching Muslims pray, men and women, 5 times daily, that it really struck Francis unexpectedly. I don't think he was expecting to see this, to know this, but I think it profoundly moved him.
مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين
In the name of God, the merciful and compassionate, glory be to God, the Lord of the worlds, the merciful and compassionate King of the day of judgment. It is you alone we worship. It is you alone we ask for help.
Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
You can directly challenge this perception of dehumanization by showing someone an example of a member of the other group who's particularly human, right? Who displays these very characteristics that you define humanity by. It makes sense from a neuroscience perspective why this would be so transformative. If you eliminate that distinction between us and them, processes that would normally be there to drive conflict are now all taken offline, wholesale.
Francis, I believe, came to the insight by watching Muslim men and women pray that prayer is of the essence for the creature. That if you are a creature, what you do is pray.
Faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light.
Al-Kamil fulfills his promise.
May we not
Francis addresses the Sultan's court.
So, to be understood.
There is before him a man who makes no demands, who makes no threats, who does not insult his religion, and probably is simply preaching.
Al-Kamil might ask a theologian or a scholar in his court to be a respondent.
Oh, people.
That was part of a classical Islamic court life and court manners.
The respect they had for each other spoke volumes to Francis that this indeed was not an enemy. This was not a beast, but this truly was a brother.
We believe. The Sultan welcomed us, Kuskan.
I am so pleased that my prayers were answered and that God protected you from these wretched infidels. It is indeed a miracle. But I have even greater news to report. Reinforcements will be arriving in the morning. And our spies tell us that sickness and starvation have set in behind the city walls. It won't be long now.
If you give up the rhetoric of hate, then why continue a war? And the point was that the church at the time had a vested interest in keeping the war going. They wanted Jerusalem, they wanted Egypt, that much was apparent.
Pelagius rejects Al-Kamil's peace offer. The war will go on until Egypt is theirs.
Sire, they launched another assault on Damietta. Sire.
Assemble the men. I'll lead them.
The Crusaders keep besieging Damietta, attacking, being repulsed. It's a stalemate. But little by little, the siege of Damietta is taking its toll on the people inside.
How long since they've been at the ramparts?
3 days.
Alert Cardinal Pelagius.
There were 80,000 people at the start of this war, and almost all of them die from disease and starvation. And so, in the end, a party of Christian troops, Crusader troops, goes, and they just kind of go up and enter the city.
With the capture of Damietta, the Crusader army marches on Cairo. Al-Kamil must retreat. The panicked population flees the countryside. All is lost. Ill and dispirited, Francis has returned to Assisi.
It's really a low point in his life. First of all, he's ill. Secondly, he's learned that his order has gone in directions that he disagrees with.